this course, Westfields, which started off, and I have to say this, it started off in a very negative environment, okay? And the reason is because it was overcast. It did drizzle a few times during the round. So most of the round, you look at the photos, you'll see most of the round is just gray, cloudy, blah. The trees have no leaves on them whatsoever. The fairway is a mix of green, patchy green and white because it's, again, Bermuda grass, not your full green. And this is, you play a lot of, if you play a lot of courses that are Bermuda grass, this is something which is depressing about playing in the spring, which is bad because the weather is actually not bad. I mean, to play, I would love to play most of the year in weather it's like 50, 60, because to me, I get hot and sweaty and stuff and so forth. If it's just like 65, 70, I'm like really just hot and sweaty. But 50, 60 for me is perfect. So I got out and played this round, and it was, when I started, it was 2 o'clock. They just started these singles. One of the other problems that I have with getting on courses through Golf Now is you can't get a single on some of these courses. One of the problems I have at Laurel Hill, it was Maryland National. I couldn't get a single through Golf Now, so I ended up having to call them and book a tee time as a single. They're like, well, you can't start until 2 o'clock. And I said, all right, fine. So starting at 2 o'clock in March to play 18 holes, you're really running the risk of not having enough daylight, except for the fact that I got lucky. And the same thing with this round. I ended up starting it at about 2:15, and I was able to play a pretty comfortable round and get off the course well before even twilight. When I packed my bag, got off and got in the car, the sun was just starting to come down below the clouds for about the past 15 minutes. It was beautiful light, sun, clouds lit from below, everything, got a few good shots, but almost every shot I took on this course for this round was just gray, barren, moonlit kind of thing. And if it wasn't for the fact that the course itself was actually pretty interesting, I would have been kind of depressed about the shots because it wasn't good light. It was bad light. So, long story short more interesting. I played this course one time about 5 or 6 years ago. Same thing as when I played Laurel Hills. And it is in Clifton, Virginia, which is just down the road, maybe 2 or 3 miles from Twin Lakes. So it's a good combination that you can play Twin Lakes, which is usually noisy. There's a fair amount of noise coming off of Union Mill behind that high school where they always have people playing and drums banging and stuff when you play the Oaks course there. Or you can just mosey down the road a little bit, straight down Union Mill, and play at Westfields. Now, I went to play Westfields. I didn't really do much more than book a tee time, and I said, I'm going to go play. And I got to the course. I was like, well, how much is around? I expect it to be, $85 or something, upscale, Clifton, Virginia. And it was like $45 to play, this time. It's like, okay, no problem. I ended up buying some more balls while I was there, to get it up to where I expected it to be. The guys there were really nice. They don't let you drive out to the cart out to your car. So I had the guy was nice enough to take me out there in a cart, got my clubs, came back, went out the course, had the course virtually to myself until maybe the 6th hole when some guy behind finally caught up with me. I was out there playing and taking pictures and not playing all too much. I think there was a point where I was really kind of struggling with my irons, my 5 and 5 iron and 4 iron, because I usually don't hit my 4 iron too much, and my 5 was just a little bit wonky that day. But struggled through, got through, and then the front of the course is really a very standard kind of tree-lined course. That's, you've got a decent fairway and so forth, and then you've got some rough or long grass on the sides of the fairway, and then there's the trees and the trees and the woods and everything. On this course, they don't have like a lot of sticker briars or garbage or crap in there. It's not like it's dropping into a creek. It's really a fairly dry course for the most part, and there's just some traps. It's more like not waste. I mean, not waste, not sand, but long grass traps that you have to carry in front of the tee box or off to the sides. You have to stay out of, and maybe there'll be a trap or line or two of sand near the green, and then maybe a horizontal or diagonal carry like a creek or something, maybe 100 yards out from the green. So it's not a hard course to play. It isn't at all. It's one of those courses that's a good challenge, but not really hard. It's not short. I think the first hole was like 403, and there were a fair number of 550-yard par fives, and the par threes were a modest distance. I think there was one 200 and one 165 and so forth. Not really long, not really tough, but they did have the subtlety of a par three with a right slope that's up there and kind of level, and there's the woods, and then the left slope, it's bounding down this hill. There's two big sand traps at the bottom left, and then a big thing of woods off to the left. So it's like fine if you hit a little bit right, but if you hit left and the ball's crossing across the green to the left, it's gonna basically skate off into the woods somewhere. You just forget it. So it does have peril on every hole, but yet it's still kind of flat and kind of tame for the most part. There is some verticality on every hole, but overall I would say it's much more of a 3 in terms of verticality than like a 7 or a 9 in terms of verticality. So this is a course which rewards players who keep the ball on or near the center of the fairway, but doesn't really beat you like a redheaded stepchild if you hit near the sides or maybe even in the woods a little bit. It's not like you absolutely have no chance of finding your ball, even if because the waste is cut down at this time of year. You still can hit in the waste and still go out and play. It's not one of those things where there's like foot high grass or in the waste and there's no way you can play it. It's not like the sand traps are so deep you cannot advance your ball out of the sand trap, unless it's back at the back of the trap and you play out with a wedge. So it's a reasonable course. I would say that it does play up to its slope. I think it was a slope 139 or 141, probably 141. It's close because it's not short. It's not an easy course. It's not a super hard course, but when you have enough length, it doesn't have to be really hard to be a high slope course. It just needs to be hard enough. And this was a respectably decent, difficult course. But it was not a butt kicker of a course. And there's a big difference between a course that's short and a butt kicker and one slope 139 or 140, and a course that's long and relatively benign and still manages a slope 141. The difference is that on a longer course, the reason it's hard is because players tend to try to play regulation on longer courses when they don't have the game to do it. They tend to try to drive 300 yards, they try to hit irons 225, and if you don't have that game, you're punishing yourself by trying to do that. And then you put yourself in the woods, or you only get 100 yards out of it or something like that. If you play your normal game and you're on the green on regulation or 1 over, that's a plus. And then it's a very casual kind of course. Solid game is all it requires. And for that, it was really kind of a fun round. Same thing, a fair amount of jet noise. This course is not that far north of Laurel Hill, and it's certainly south of Dulles. It has that. It has some road noise because there's the road that leads directly to the gate of the course. You're going to hear some road noise on that. Some, because this is a very mellow place. Okay, almost no road noise. And so what's left? Housing. This course has virtually no houses on the course. It's just a nice laid back kind of place with enough going for it to get you a good outing without too much salsa, too much pepper, too much whatever, and just overdoing it, and just being annoying, just being grating in terms of being too much or trying to give you too much of a round. It's a good, solid golfer's course. That's Westfields Golf Course in Clifton, Virginia, and I will give this one a B star, halfway between a B plus and a B even.